What's up, everybody? It is Hugh G. Rection from the Disney Misfits bringing you a video explaining to you how to use the free-to-play Ian team. This video will not contain any footage of the actual team being used. I am posting another video immediately after this one with my run from last night against the Ice Titan on Heroic. Just giving you a team overview. Speed Stones on Barley, Cobra Bubbles, and Sally. They're all level 80. Chunk has a Hellstone and Ian has a Crit Power Stone. You could also use an Offense Stone. I prefer the Crit Power Stone just because I have more of them, but it doesn't really matter. Sally is the first character we're going to look at here, going through each of her abilities. One gives her some sustainability. It is her passive. It is called Self-Sown. It heals her. It can help remove Scalding against the Lava Titan. It can give her Undefeatable. Fog Juice here is just going to inflict blind, do a little bit of damage. That helps the target miss. Deadly Nightshade is my finishing move. That's after the target is empowered, just to get like a little bit of big hit after it. And Vile is the bread and butter of this build. This is how she inflicts 6 continuous damages when she hits twice on a target with fear. But more importantly, it also is going to give her turn meter up to 60% from 2 hits. So she's going to get to go over and over and over. So really important to stack debuffs for this guy here, who is how we achieve the biggest number. But the rest of the team supports it. So starting with this passive, not massively important. You can definitely save your runes if you didn't want to spend them on this. It can help lengthen a debuff if needed. Voltar Thunderseer is how the big damage is dealt. That's obviously increased by each harmful effect on the target. So the more you can stack, the better this is going to do. It's also why I stack a Crit Power Stone, because we're really just going for one big hit anyways. And then his next spell here, Magnora Gargantuan. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but this is a cool spell. This is going to extend the length of all harmful effects, which is how we keep the run going as long as we do. It also gives a random helpful effect to Ian and adjacent allies. Sometimes you can really use this to your advantage to stack like Crit Power up or Offense up, which helps you with the chances of getting the buffs on Ian at the right time when you're ready to do the big hit and everything is stacked. So sometimes it can really work to your advantage. Obviously RNG dependent, but a pretty cool spell overall. Definitely if you got a Gear 9 Ian, don't upgrade it. You don't want it to do any more damage than it's doing. It's already close to pushing Titan to empowered every time. His basic here is also great. It can give 80% chance to give blind to the target. So nice to help keep your targets or your teammates alive while you're going for it. Cobra Bubbles, pretty critical to the build. His passive here has a chance to apply tactics or extend tactics. That's nice to make things that are chances, not chances anymore. It also makes him assist, which gives him ability magic for his spells because his basic does that. This is considered the ticket. It's also called Call Me Next Time. This we're going to give to Barley the first time to make sure he can get Guinevere to remove a magic from the Titan so the Titan can't purge your helpful effects. It also gives offense up, gives tactics, and haste as well. So pretty useful spell. We're going to use it on Ian the second time, hopefully, to make sure he has that offense up. Very critical. Stare Down is a way to remove turn meter from the Titans. It works more if he has tactics, if Cobra Bubbles has tactics. And you also want to save this for a time when the Titan has enough turn meter that using it actually does remove it. Otherwise, it's kind of wasted. But you'll use that a couple times in the round if you're lucky. And then his basic here is going to manipulate magic and also grant slow. Pretty helpful when you're trying to make sure you take more turns than the Titan does. So you can stack as many continuous damages from Sally that you can. I wish it did less damage overall, but it kind of is what it is. You've got to be really careful not to empower the Titan during your cycles so you can get as many continuous damage attacks as possible. Chunk, I love Chunk. He's a fantastic character. I should have invested in him quite a bit earlier than I did in this game. His passive here is going to, well, passive 2 actually has 2 passives. This one's going to give him shield anytime the target is affected by fear. And of course, it's helpful more in Club Conquest, which is great, you know, if you're trying to get set up for your team. Friendly to Fierce, this ability is basically just going to toggle on him either taunt or haste. He's going to rotate between those two. When he goes from not taunt to taunt, he inflicts fear on the target. So that's how Sally is able to go, or has a good chance to go twice, which helps her get more turns and helps her stack a lot more of those continuous damages. So this is pretty fantastic. Also giving him haste gets him lots of turns, which means he can send things over and over and over. So overall, it's a really interesting kit. I think it's kind of a unique sort of transition that he goes through. Ground Pound here is going to extend the length of harmful effects. That's how we make fear, blind, slow, multiple turns, things like that. This is really essential to the build. You've got to have that. Boulder Bash here, it's his basic. This is going to inflict offense down when he has haste. So just another debuff. Increases survivability for your team. Great spell. Next, we will look at Barley's kit. He has a lot of stuff in here that's important. His passive, not super critical. You could definitely save your runes on this. It has a chance to inflict defense down. Not that important. Him being immune to fear, not that important for the raid. Good elsewhere, but not for the Titans. This is considered the book, or also called Quest of Yore. This is going to give magic. It's going to give guaranteed crit. And with tactics, or with good RNG, it's going to give crit power up as well. So this is how we get Ian to do that big hit with that crit power up. Increases it by 100%. Guinevere removes taunt, does other things, but we're using it to do two things. To give Barley an evasion so he doesn't die, and also to remove a magic from the Titan. We want to make sure that they can't use their abilities to remove our helpful effects. So then his basic here is going to call random teammates up to a certain number to assist. So this is how we're getting Sally to take a lot more turns again, by putting her in a position that he calls for assists. She does her basic grants her turn meter, and she gets to go even more. So really critical to this build. And then we're going to look at some of the spells here that we can use with it. I've seen a lot of varieties. I use Splash Mountain Soak. Generally speaking, on a good run, you're not going to get spells to charge prior to empowerment, so it really doesn't matter. But this can help you in a pinch if you've got a run that's looking good. It does two things. It removes magic from the primary opponent, and it also has a chance to extend harmful effects. So great if you're trying to keep things alive in a last-minute scenario. The other spell I use sometimes is Spirit Mufasa. This will grant offense up to an offense character, which is great. But again, if you're timing everything perfectly and everything works how it's supposed to, you already have this from Cobra Bubble. So again, it's a nice fail-safe if your run's kind of failing, but you got to get it done. It is what it is. Last look at the team here. I want to go over one more thing. I said my team was base G8. There is arguably one of the most cost-effective upgrades in the entire game here. Is this single piece for Ian here. This one piece of Gear 9 gear will give him 35% crit power, which will turn a million hit into a 1,000,035 hit. I mean, it's huge what that will do from one piece alone. Also, you get that little offense boost there to go with it. Plus, then, of course, your other things in your kit will manipulate that 35% slightly more. I think more like around 40% or so. A good investment. I don't know if I'm going to do it. My goal is to try to work with the team I have. I ultimately, in retrospect, wouldn't have upgraded everything as much as I had. Especially Sally. The least damage you can do with her, the better. If the Titan's taking turns and has lots of continuous damages, you don't want those to do a lot to him, so you can stack more turns. That about wraps it up for the video, guys. I hope you had a good look at this. Stay tuned for the next video coming out in a few minutes about